When I feel your gentle touch and things are going our way, I wanna spill my love on you all day, all day. Yada, ding dong, ding dong. My love for you is growing wide and long. Yada, ding dong, ding dong. The sweat burns when I see what we become. Yada, ding dong, ding dong. Come, come on, baby, we can get lost. Yada, ding dong, ding dong. When I see you, I feel like ding ding dong. Love expands when I'm with you, all over the Milky Way.
Pretty good, right, John? Not bad. Not bad.
Play get back in here and play Ya Ya Ding Dong. It's a great movie. That is a great movie.
Explain to the audience and to Justin Watkins what in God's name that is.
So that is Will Ferrell, and the name escapes me of the lady who's actually singing, but it's the movie on Netflix that just came out, Eurovision. Will Ferrell, Rachel McAdams. They play a duos, whatever, Icelandic singer duo or duet, whatever you want to call it. They're not related; they're love interests with one another. but it's great. Like, so they go compete in Eurovision, and it's the whole story following them. I was pleasantly surprised, and I told Steve through text messages, I really think that there's a chance, and I'm not good with musicals and things like that. I don't even know if they're up for it, but it's a movie, Justin, that could win. I think best original soundtrack. It was great. There's 10 original songs in it. They're all actually really good. The end song, the climax, I was in shock how great that song was from a singing aspect. I liked it a lot. It was awesome.
Was that the best song, the one that you just played?
No. The end song, the climax. So that's not even as good as Coolin' with the Homies. Of course, what's the one they were competing with? What's the song called that they were singing with originally, Steve?
Is it Lion Love?
Well, no, Lion Love's a Russian guy. That's his ballad. But they're what is it? Double Trouble.
Double Trouble.
Yeah, that's a great song. It's really good, man. You should check it out. Family friendly too.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, just don't explain what Ya Ya Ding Dong actually means, the song, what they're talking about. But it's very funny. I actually think the big song in this really goofy Will Ferrell, it's typical Will Ferrell. It's fun. It ends in funny fashion. I actually think the big song could be best song in a movie at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Which if a Will Ferrell movie won that, people would be like, what? So it's kind of crazy. Check it out. I'm sure Justin will come back at us next week on the Legal Pod or on the Wednesday spot and be like, what did you guys recommend? That was terrible. You don't always like my taste, but Von Tobel's the one who suggested it. So if you don't like it, it's John's fault.
All right, I'll watch this one. I haven't been real hot on your takes lately on shows, but I'm getting caught up. The wife and I are in season 2 of Succession. I'm down for that. The only tough part about that one is there's not a single likable character in the whole show, but I think it's great. I like it. Have you guys seen that?
Succession?
I have not.
Succession is brilliant.
Yeah, it's
brilliant.
good.
It's there's so many good characters. I don't think you're there yet. Maybe you are. There's a dinner party, or maybe it's a night before, whatever. It might be a dinner for a wedding. There is a dinner party where
Boar on the floor.
No, different one. There's a different, because that one's amazing too. Boar on the floor, right? There's another dinner party where there's so much nastiness and backstabbing and meanness. It's freaking ridiculous. Yeah, me Stevo says Succession is amazing. Eli jumps in, says you guys are ding dongs. Eli follows it up by saying that Fire Saga 2 hours. Eli, not to be mean, brother. What do you have going on right now? What are you, RE2? You got time.
It's worth it. Flies by.
I think
John Jr. Good evening, gentlemen.
I think the people who like Succession, I think it's really a good play on East Coast, blue blood stuff. And if
you know what it's based on, right?
Well, I see a lot of crossover. I mean, I could see the Trump family. I could see Murdoch and Fox News. That's what most of it is. Yeah.
That's what much of it is Murdoch and the what Fox News is.
So when they shut down Walter, is that about Gawker? Is that the same thing? Because who was the edgy website that got bought out by a major media company, and then everybody got fired, and they were filming it. The employees were filming it.
You know what? I never thought of that. You're right. I have to go back and watch and see if I can pick up what they're trying to point to.
Yeah, I thought Gawker, but Gawker got sunk by Hogan. It wasn't
right.
It wasn't because they got bought out, right? It was somebody else though. So that happened, didn't it? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah. All right, so we got a lot of legal stories to get into, a lot of Vegas stories to get into. I might throw in one of my favorite topics towards the end of the podcast, hot dogs. But I'll tell you, yesterday was a roller coaster because I started out the show. Man, I did this whole rant. I played it again on the late night video show. Justin came in the middle of Cofield and Company and gave some really good takes on testing and just how bad we look. But, we have to look a little deeper at the numbers. So we'll get to that inside of 5 minutes. I want Justin to repeat what he was talking about yesterday. But here's a report from Fox 5. I was all doom and gloom yesterday. You do realize this weekend, because California and Arizona are all shut down, this weekend is actually going to be like a booming freaking weekend for the Strip. And I'll ask you guys if that's a good thing after we watch this lady Kyla at Fox 5 talk about what's coming up this weekend. She goes in one of my favorite places, the Stage Door. So we'll watch this.
Bars, beaches, restaurants, those are the fun activities people want to do on a holiday weekend. They might have a little more time off, a little more time to spend with their family. Well, the director of operations here at Stage Door Casino told me if those people can't do all of those activities in their home state, they're going to do it somewhere else.
All right, first of all, I got to break in. Has everyone been to the Stage Door? Everyone on the chat? Justin? John?
I don't know if I have.
No, I don't think so.
It's right near Batista's, as you can see. Batista's is up here, right? I like that they have a director of operations. When you go in down the road, think of like the title of director of operations. It is a classic freaking dive bar.
I've already seen people from California and Arizona today.
Director of Operations John Viscara told me visitors are making their way to the Valley ahead of the holiday weekend as parts of their own states shut down.
It's kind of a what else could go wrong type of mentality.
Viscara said the Stage Door Casino already gets a lot of business from Californians and Arizonians.
We check population of where people are coming from, and 3 cities in California are on our top 10. Arizona has 1 city on our top 10. So I would imagine that we're going to see an increase from those areas.
Viscara told me as COVID-19 cases spike in the Southwest, he understands the responsibility of running a bar.
We feel that we have great measures in place to prevent COVID from spreading.
Security checks temperatures at the door and gives out masks.
Of course, you get the odd person here and there that they're just not going to comply with anything. But I would say 99% of the people that come through the door are more than happy to wear a mask.
Since the mask mandate started last week, investigators with the Department of Business and Industry made 259 compliance checks across the state. 85% of those businesses were following guidelines.
Our goal, I'm sure, is the same as everyone else's. We want to see everybody get healthy.
Just because Nevada is still open doesn't mean COVID-19 has disappeared. The number of daily cases in Nevada is nearly 3 times higher than 1 month ago. Hospitalizations are also up, but the need for ICU beds and ventilators is not rising.
I'm hopeful that people come into town to celebrate, but that they do it safely.
All right. There's a lot to unpack there. I got some comments on the Stage Door.
Yeah.
But we can first get to... this seems like a reality, right? If, by the way, is it Arizonans or Arizonians?
That was Indians. Arizonians.
I always said
Arizonans. Yeah, me too. Can I just call bullshit on 2 things that happened there? Right off the bat. Like, number one, stop it with we check population. There's no fucking way. And number 2, you're going to say 99% of the people are wearing masks. They showed 5 people in that video, and 3 of them weren't wearing masks. One of them was face to face with somebody getting a temperature check. Bullshit.
Well, just so you know, Stage Door, I mean, it is really a dive bar. One, you saw they generally have $1 or $1.50 beer special, which I totally appreciate as a cheap ass. It's basically if you walk down, believe it or not, there's a little bit of a hill from Flamingo and LV Boulevard behind. I'm going to call it, what the hell was the old name of it? What was it? Bill's Gambling Saloon and what is it now? The Cromwell. So it's down the hill from the Cromwell. It is a great sightseeing place. It is heavily populated by working gals and their dude. And it's one of the most secure places because there are, some rough characters who hang out there. It is the spot of the last sort of bar fight that I was involved in. Maybe I'll give some details on that later. So for her to go there, it's like, hey, even we're being safe. Like, this is a rough and tumble place. Even we're being safe. All right, John, I'll ask you before Justin. Is it good that we're going to be packed as we can be packed, as much as we can be packed this weekend?
I don't know. I feel like that's not like a yes or like, no, yes, it's good, right? I think there's so much to it. Like, it'll be good if the money comes in and people spend money here because obviously the city needs it. And if every single spot that they go to takes proper precautions and it's a very safe experience for everybody that comes here, but it's obviously not going to be like that. And so that's also part of the worry with all these people coming here is, like they said in this piece alone, right? It was a small sample size, but 85% of businesses was complying. So it means 15% of businesses aren't. And so that's kind of the worry is what population of the people that are coming in are going to that 15%. So I feel like it's good that they're coming and spending money, but it's still an unknown about what's going to happen and which of those 15% are businesses that aren't really taking this seriously.
Good or bad, Justin? I mean, we're all masked up now. If it's at 85%, that's a lot better than the 10 and 15% I was witnessing on day one when casinos opened up.
I don't know, man. I just, I'm for it. Fuck it. Like, bring them all in, like I feel bad, not for me. I feel bad for the workers, if it's going to be packed and everybody's not masking up and you don't have employers enforcing the mask policy. And I get it, man. It's hard. Like we have a mask policy at my office, and they wear their masks, they come in, they get in the conference room, they drop it, and you got to walk this fine line. I don't want to try to alienate people but thankfully, at least in my conference room, I can kind of sit at the other end and I just open up with an intro of like, listen, I got somebody at home I got to protect. So I'm going to sit down here. Hope you're not offended. It's got nothing to do with you. And, and do the best I can. But you know what? 4th of July, let's see. Right. I hear we got enforcement people out there now from business and industry. I hear they're all around that they've been citing people. I just feel like we have to be the best at this in order to save the city. Let's give it a try. Let's enforce. And if we do, and it turns out okay, then, Vegas is going to boom again. And I like seeing Chris Naked City on there. I just ordered Naked City yesterday. Ordered the pizza from the Express over on Blue Diamond with some atomic fries.
There you go. Sean ordered some hot dogs with the Salins. And then Chris says, my man. Oop, wrong one. My man. Thanks for the order. Ray chimed in, said he was at GVR, 99% wearing a mask. I was very comfortable. And, the threat of licenses for casinos and especially local businesses, that's a legit threat,
I think Sisolak has made them.
Yeah, at least the fines are they can be big fines. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's necessarily about the money, but I think Sisolak has made it clear to the casino industry, the resort association, that hey, if you guys don't follow this, I'm going to shut you back down. Mm-hmm. And well, I don't know. That's a little bit of a game of chicken. I don't know if we shut back down. I'm afraid to hear what's going to happen on the national level, how they characterize that and what they say about Vegas. So I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see us go back to shutting everything down. And that's good to hear that people are masking up, man, because when I haven't gone to any casinos. I haven't gone to any place that's got more than 50 people in it. I haven't gone to a restaurant. I haven't gone to any of that stuff yet. But when I just go to like the gas station, which I have to go to, Man, I don't see masks. A little bit more recently, but I see tons of people not using masks. Maybe I'm going to the wrong gas station.
Well, I was going to say my experience, like, because I noted like the 15% and everything. I should point out that, like, in my experience, Justin, I've seen a lot of masks, and I work at the South Point, our studio is there, so I go to a casino every day. Everybody there is wearing a mask. It's funny. I actually went to a gas station the other day, and there was one guy that was not wearing a mask, and that irritated me. But it stuck out to me because I had realized that of all the places I'd been to, I'd say over the last 2 weeks or so, a majority of people that I have at least viewed have been wearing their masks. Some are wearing weird masks, and some are wearing them a little different. But for the most part, people are complying. And I'd say like about 95 to 99% of the people that I've interacted with wear it and take it seriously.
That's super rad, right? Like then we'll find out if this can actually save us. Right. If wearing a mask, who knows? But I've read some reports that say, hey, if everybody wears a mask, that we can get the R value, the transmission rate of under 1, and keep almost all of the economy open. Now the last sort of step in that is going to be like sports and concerts and big gatherings and events like that. And that's a ways down the road. And I would be fearful about compliance rates at those kinds of events with masks because there's just too much going on. I just think masks would fly to the side. But hey, man, if we could do it, then let's do it. Let's give it a try. Let's see if we can actually keep this thing under control with just masks. Because if we can, hey, game on. Let's let Vegas be Vegas.
I just went to Smith's and loaded up on some alcohol for the weekend, and I think every single person I saw in there shopping had a mask, and that is a big departure from what it was like 3 weeks ago. Justin, I also wanted you to talk to this audience and talk about what you said yesterday on the numbers. Like, our numbers are spiking, but you said, you know what, this is not an exact thing with the numbers, and maybe our numbers are spiking just because people are going back to work and a lot more people are getting tested, and we're not going like Trumpian here saying, hey, if we don't test, we won't have numbers. But because we're populating the casinos again with their workers, they are getting tested. We are going to get positive tests.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know this. We can make the numbers say whatever you want, really. If you've got an agenda that you want to put forward, there's numbers out there to back you up right now on either side of the argument. But for me, when I looked at the numbers and saw the rates going really high of positive cases, I was like, oh, man. I tried to dig a little bit deeper and see what I could see about those numbers. And there's a couple things that stuck out to me. In the last 4 days, I don't know about today, I haven't looked at it, but I saw a breakdown on age of the positive tests. And over 60% of the positive tests were between the ages of 20 and 49 on most days, somewhere in between 50 and 60%. And to me, that seems to imply that that's a lot of people going back to work and they have to get tested to go back to work. I'll tell you, at my office, if somebody's like, oh yeah, I've got some allergies, I'm like, bullshit, go get a test and don't come back until I don't care if it may be allergies, but if you're coughing and you're sniffling and I want to test, the tests are free. You can get it the same day, go get a test. And then in 2 days, when you've got the results, come on back. Cool. And so I think almost everybody at my office has gotten a test one way or the other. If you change your behavior a lot, go get a test. I drove to Colorado and back, and I had to stop a lot of different places to fill up on gas. And Colorado, there was no mask wearing when I was there. In Denver, no mask. All the restaurants are full. Everything's packed. And so I felt it necessary to get a test when I got back. Super easy. Went down to UMC's test site at Thomas and Mack and got a test. The other thing that up until today that led me to think that maybe this is a bunch of asymptomatic people that would have no idea that they were positive, except for they had to get a test to go back to work, was that the death rate was holding, the hospital rate was basically holding, and even the next level down, ICU beds and ventilators were actually going down as these positive cases are going up. Today, I saw the ICU number jump by a lot, by 40%. And so I don't know. It's so hard. All I have is the state's numbers, but the state's relying on all the facilities to give those numbers. And do they give me one big clump of data all at once and it jumps on one day, and it's actually those ventilators or those ICU beds were going up throughout the week, or is it literally a single day jump? It's hard to tell. I don't have the inside information on that, but I agree with Sean on the chat. The Nevada Independent is all over this. Megan Meserly is the person I follow for this data. She gives a breakdown of the positive cases, the positive test percentage for total number of tests. She gives the hospitalization of confirmed and suspected. She gives the ICU data. She gives the ventilator data. She gives breakdowns on county every single day. So usually by like 9 o'clock, she has that data out in graph form. That's where I go for my data. I haven't seen anybody do it any better. And I agree. The process was super easy for me. I did hear that at Thomas and Mack, like 2 days or 3 days after I got my test, these numbers started spiking and the wait was about 2 hours. My wait, I set an appointment. It was 20 minutes and I was in and out.
All right. Let's deal with the next issue, which is more and more positive tests from the workers on the Strip. There was a death. A 51-year-old Caesars employee passed away. The union's getting involved. Ari had the question for this story. If your case is that your company didn't do what they needed to protect you, Ari was asking, is there any way to truly prove the company, quote, failed to protect its employees, and what constitutes proper protection?
Yeah, you don't have a claim in the normal sense of the word there. If you're an employee, we've talked about this a little while ago, if you were able to go through contact tracing, and Nevada is now getting on that, like they encourage you to, they have a department now. I just saw it tweeted out today by Sisolak's chief of staff, Michelle White, that she tweeted out a contact number to call if you've been in contact with somebody to help and assist with contact tracing. So there is sort of a system that's out there, but let's just forget the fact that it's a super high hurdle to clear to prove that you actually contracted the virus at work because there was insufficient safety measures. That's super hard to prove, but let's say you could. If you could, that would be a work comp claim. I don't think you would have an individual claim. Now, we could end up in the work comp system, and a work comp hearing master or the district court on appeal could say, well, we don't think that this is an appropriate work comp claim because it is an illness and not an occupational illness, and we're going to deny the claim. If that were to happen, then you would see a claim that could arise from employee to employer for negligence and failure to protect. What I expect to see on the docket in this special session, I have no inside knowledge on this, but what I would expect to see is one of the really smart things that California did and Newsom did in one of his directives is he, and I don't know how California laws differ that allow him to do this, but in his emergency declaration, he changed the burden of proof on a work comp claim. And it said, if you contract COVID and you're an essential worker and you're back at work, it is assumed to have been as a result of your working, and it is covered by work comp. I would expect you're going to see something like that at least debated in this special session next week. I think it's a really smart thing to do. It's really easy because the bottom line is, what do you get out of work comp that's different than a normal negligence claim? Work comp is a system. It's an agreed upon system between employers and employees in which it doesn't matter who's at fault. The employee's medical expenses are covered by the work comp insurance, but you do not get to make a claim for pain and suffering. So the claim value goes way down. The medical care has to be signed off on throughout the whole time by a work comp adjuster for the insurance company. And so the care is controlled, and the expense of it is on a negotiated rate. So it doesn't get really expensive for the work comp insurance to provide for this coverage. So I think it's an awesome directive that Newsom put out there, and I hope Nevada follows suit.
Some follow-up questions, and Justin, anything you see in the chat that you want punched up, you can tell me to punch it up. Brady was just saying, let's see, I just think I made it disappear. You think that law would withstand a lawsuit challenging it?
I don't know, because I don't know what Newsom was relying on and for California law as his basis to be able to make that directive. But if his powers are as expansive as our powers are for the executive branch during the emergency, you are allowed to create laws that directly or change laws that directly affect the emergency at hand. And so, yeah, it could. I think obviously a legislative fix is the way to go, because the whole work comp system is created legislatively. I mean, there's a whole revised statute chapter dedicated to work comp, the process, how it works. And so if you were to put that in, then I think that certainly would hold up. Whether or not you challenge the executive directive, who knows? I think there's a whole bunch of governors' executive orders that are out there, emergency directives, that might not make it through constitutional muster if they were challenged. And I just don't know enough about California law and the powers granted to the governor there during emergency to say whether or not his would pass muster. But I will say it's really well written. I've read it, and I think it's really well written.
John, you got follow-ups on this, or we want to have you get to the unemployment lawsuit that's coming out now?
No, I mean, there was one when I was reading the article, the thing that stuck out to me, and I don't know, maybe it was just the way that they had placed it, but the fact that they had issued that it was mandatory, or they issued their own personal, mask mandate on the 24th. It was the day before Sisolak's order came down. And I was just thinking that, even if, regardless of everything you said about a claim, Justin, like, what would you like? What are the steps that Caesars did not take, right, for them to be found to be in violation, really, of anything? And that was what I was curious about, because the way I read it, it sounded like it was, hey, this guy died, let's implement masks, and maybe that was a violation, but that's obviously not the case, because it was the 25th and they implemented it on the 24th.
Work comp does not protect intentional actions, so it has to be negligence. So and what can rise to intentional can be reckless disregard, which is basically like gross negligence. It's just so over the top that you purposely were negligent. And I mean, from my perspective, when I read that story, I could not believe that Caesars did not test every employee before they put them back to work, and they weren't mandating masks. Like I was shocked that was the case. And that seems, gross negligence and reckless disregard is a super high standard. Probably doesn't rise to the level of it. I mean, it's a really hard standard to meet.
Yeah. All right, John, let's get into
Sean's right. This is collectively bargained as well. So the culinary and the employees there have a collective bargaining agreement. And so they're going to have their own grievance process for any claims. So what happened for Caesars is, and a couple other hotels, is culinary sued them, but they're not suing for money damages. They're suing for an injunction that requires certain safety protocol in place.
What about this one from Ben Ray? Special session bill is going to remove all liability.
Oh, it fucking better not. So but it's going to be a topic that's going to be debated, because the Chamber of Commerce has come out and said, we want employer immunity, or we want business immunity on COVID transmission, carte blanche. So if a guest comes on and they contract it, we're immune from liability. And I think any immunity is a super dangerous road to go down. But let's just look at the behavior of the industry that happened before the masks were mandated. Yeah. They didn't do any of this shit, right? And then when mandated, we still have 15% of the people, 15% of the companies that are not doing it. And that's just based on the initial sweep. I guarantee you it's much higher than that. So if they are being told what they have to do to protect the public, and they're willingly not doing it, why in the world would we give them immunity? It's the worst. It's the worst remedy to correct bad behavior. It entices bad behavior. And I stand by the fact that I think, Las Vegas needs to be the best at all of this if we're going to survive, not the worst.
John, let's get to your story about the class action lawsuit against Nevada unemployment. What's going on here? And let's get some answers from Justin if John is still with us.
I'm with you. My camera just freaked out for a second. You can still hear me.
Sorry,
right?
we can hear you. That's the most important part.
All right. So, so a class action lawsuit is seeking to force Nevada's unemployment office to pay out Justin. The thing there's a couple things that stuck out to me. The one that I thought was somewhat interesting, other than they're actually going after them for multiple things, including, it sounds like, not bringing in a third party to actually help them out with some actual issues in terms of their system. This is also, it seems like, only for gig workers. And on top of that, and what I found interesting out of all of this, regardless of, Nevada unemployment still hasn't paid, and, my wife's one of those people that's waiting. It seemed like it was a policy issue more than anything, because in the piece it's written that for gig workers, your income declining is not an issue. It has to be, you have to show a full freeze of like the income that has come in for you, because their jobs aren't regular employer type deals. So that's the first thing that stuck out to me, right? Like, they're suing for this because they want their money, but at the same time, maybe not all of these people meet the requirements. So you can't just get like a lump sum payout, right?
Yeah, eligibility for gig workers and independent contractors is a tough one. It's number one. I do agree with Dieter on this, that it is the most likely for fraud, because it's difficult to prove, that you are in fact an independent contractor. It's not a legal status that you just hold to as a pass through for a company. So that's number one. Number two, the eligibility of unemployment benefits for independent contractors and gig workers isn't a normal thing. It was created out of the CARES Act and is federally funded. And what Dieter is saying is, dude, the feds have given us all these guidelines, and we were not prepared. We had no knowledge that these were going to be the guidelines until they were. And we simply didn't have the capability to process all of those claims and do all the things that the feds are telling us to do, all the investigations to ensure there's not fraud, all of that. Now, that's their argument. A couple days later, they paid the 4 plaintiffs, right? So like, they have the mechanism to do the verification. They did it. I don't want to be like super conspiracy theorist on all this, but I think that there are things that can be done to more quickly and efficiently process these and all other unemployment claims that are out there, but they come at an expense both on the front end and the back end. One, to staff up and get the necessary software and everything else that's needed, staffing, people-wise, otherwise, on the front end. So that costs money. And then on the back end, you're paying out the claims. And Nevada's a poor state, and our unemployment bank is sufficient. It's there. But if all these claims come through and all these claims were paid right off the bat, we would be in a tough spot, I think, moving forward. And I don't know. I just think that I think some people are getting slow played. I don't know how else to say it.
Because there was a couple of things, like I'll read you this part, because like part of this is, like I said, they're alleging that, the unemployment office, you mentioned some of the steps they could take, and they're saying that there were other steps too that they didn't want to. Like, for example, in April, the Employment Security Division was authorized to rehire retirees. Is it Zwelke or whatever? Others offered to help, but he says DETR didn't bite. Instead, they hired inexperienced adjudicators, and he can't make sense of it. Like things like that. And there's more to it, obviously, like bringing in people to help fix the technology that was having issues. Is there something there where you're not taking other steps? Like you can at least do something. I know some states, it was mentioned in the article, brought in the National Guard to help at least sort through some of the claims. So why hasn't Nevada done something like that?
Yeah, that's right. And I think especially chaps my ass as a longtime native Nevadan, that when they go and seek help, they went and hired California companies to go process Nevada claims. I hate that. Mm-hmm. I hate when I pay them like my taxes and I see that I like for SIDS and LIDs, and then I'm going and paying somebody in Los Angeles. It drives me crazy. But I'm sure there was more than enough people in Nevada that would have been willing to figure this stuff out and learn the trade, and we could have helped our own economy internally. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, there is some evidence out there that other states handle this much better. You see in the chat that the lawsuit referenced that some states have been able to process like 95% of their claims within 2 to 4 days. I'll just throw out the caveat. I'm not trying to say DETR's done anything right. I'm not. But I will just say that Nevada's budget is probably in the bottom, I don't know, definitely in the bottom 10 states in the union. Got to be, if not the bottom 5. We are not a rich state. We are a poor state from a tax standpoint, from a budget standpoint, and we are about to cut that budget by somewhere close to 40% for the next in this special session, if not more. And so I think that if I give them the benefit of the doubt, they probably went and tried to find some deals who could do it for the cheapest because they don't have a lot of money to put towards it. But
a lot of comments. John, you got a follow up?
There was one more thing when I was looking at this but it kind of falls in like the same example that we're talking about. Like, for example, there's a story of, I think it's one of the plaintiffs who, called, said her claim was going to be paid in 24 to 48 hours. She calls back after a week and they say, oh, no, it's going to be 21 to 30 days. There was a glitch in the system. And when they're asked about the glitch, DETR responds with, we're working with the vendor on reported items and monitoring the site. Like, well, what does that mean? What are you doing? Like, right? Is that like you're passing the buck on to the vendor? Like, no, this is ultimately on you.
Yep. I don't have anything else to say to that, but yep.
Naked City Chris making a comment, I guess, on being understaffed and not staffing up, says super quick, though, to staff the snitch line against businesses to enforce, I guess, the mask mandate, which, of course, a lot of businesses aren't equipped to enforce the masking mandate. Money Tank said, is Nevada paying the extra $600 retroactive? If not, there's no rush to pay people until July 31st. Does that make sense to you?
I'm not sure about the July 31st thing, but yeah, everything is supposed to be retroactive. I don't know why July 31st.
Let's see. John Carvelli says, is there a rise on fraud right now? I had to deal with that today.
Actually. Oh, sorry, Justin. Go ahead. You're smarter than me.
Yeah, they referenced that in the article in their answer in the lawsuit, and they said that if they had to just pay out every claim, that based on data from other states and historically, that they believe that would cause about 2.4 million in payments to fraudulent claimants.
Sean was asking you, do you think the money's being directed to other places before they pay out unemployment?
Not on the back end. No, that fund can't be touched, right? The unemployment fund is a separate, distinct bucket. I'm talking about the front end, paying for quality people to man the lines, quality IT, all of that stuff can be very expensive, and that would come out of our general fund for sure.
All right, all good, John.
Yeah. Well, actually, Justin, when's my wife going to get paid? Come on, give me the answer.
I have no idea. I mean, there's people who have been spending months digging into the particulars of this, and I'm not even going to act like I have been. I don't know what the ins and outs are and what they're finding.
I'm actually because I'm not really experienced with this. I will say I am curious because it's been so long. She's already back at work and she is still yet to get paid. That's where I think that's something that will that work against her?
See, that's where I think the slow play is coming into play. If there is a slow play, that in theory some claims will drop off because people got back to work and they're like, well, I can't wait on this. I get back to work, I start, and then I don't pursue it anymore. I don't call that number 7 times a day, every day, trying to get an answer. It's a big clusterfuck. There's no other way to put it.
Let's turn our attention to some police stories. Also, we'll get to the St. Louis story with Bonnie and Claude on their front lawn, bringing out an AR and a pistol. It's coming up in a couple of minutes. Let's see. Kansas City story. This is a name of a news guy, Andy Alcock. By the way, that's a great name. Maybe it's Alcock. A former Overland Park police officer who fatally shot a 17-year-old boy was paid $70,000 as part of a deal to resign. Any idea why stuff like this happens aside from just blurting out unions?
Yeah, so let's assume that their findings were correct and they found that the police officer did not act improperly, which, I mean, there's video and I think it's complete and utter bullshit. But okay, let's say he acted properly in his use of deadly force. So they didn't have a basis under the collective bargaining agreement to terminate him, but in the interest of his personal safety, the PR to the people of the city, they negotiate a deal like, hey, man, maybe it's just not for you to be police anymore. We'll give you a nice severance, and then everybody goes their separate ways. But this video to me is directly in contradiction to their findings. They said that he had a legitimate fear for his life because the vehicle was backing up at a high rate of speed and was going to run him over. There's a number of problems with that. Number one, he had his gun pulled as he was walking up to the house as the garage door was opening. So the car wasn't even moving. Number two, as the car's backing out of the driveway, it is not going more than 5 miles an hour. It's a normal backup out of the driveway, and the officer is off to the side. He's not even in the path of the vehicle. So I just have a ton of problems with their finding that the use of force was proper, and that's why I think police can't investigate police. It shouldn't happen that way.
John, you got anything?
Well, I think it's like when you looked at the article overall and like what the thought process was, I think it was the mother or anybody, I can't remember exactly what family member were talking about it. Like, to Justin's point, you watch the video, I don't know how you can find what you did, but they don't even release their findings. And like, that's the issue here. It's the issue, I think, overall with what we're seeing, what's going on in our country right now. Like you talked about it, right? It's the age-old example. Police going, we'll investigate ourselves. Yeah, we didn't find anything wrong with that. And like, that's part of the issue.
Yeah, so they released their conclusion, but not any part of their investigation. Right. Yeah, that's a big problem.
How about the union element of it?
Well, I mean, I don't know that the union was the problem here. I mean, they're going to have their grievance process and the, quote unquote, due process before somebody can get terminated. And certainly if the finding was that the use of force was appropriate, then they're not going to be able to navigate through that collectively bargained, I don't even know in that state. It might be statutory, but either way, the process is either going to be in law or in a collectively bargained agreement for how all the steps you must take before you can terminate somebody. I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is the investigation itself.
All right. On to next police matter. I don't know if you guys watched this video of the
I did.
Miami airport clash. I'll try to punch up the video here with a news report in just a second. But John, you want to describe to people before we show the video what happened? It looks like a lady's getting a little angry, a little froggy. I think she had missed her flight. She's talking to two police officers, and she gets within his space.
Yeah, and then gets slapped. Like, I mean, that's really it. She walks up to him. I believe the quote is, "What are you going to do?" And then he steps back, rears back, and slaps her right in the face before then taking her down and, at that point arresting her. And you can hear him even say, I think, she headbutted me or something of that nature in the video. But I think it's completely unwarranted, the force at which he does it. And she clearly didn't headbutt him. Like, you're the police officer. You have a partner on the scene. It's your job to de-escalate. It's not your job to get angry and strike the person that you were supposed to be serving and protecting. But yeah, here's the video.
You ready? Let's take a look at this for the audience. This is Airport Miami-Dade police officer, who, by the way, has been relieved of his duties. We'll look into what that means, but here's what happened. Video's not great.
This body camera footage shows a woman engaged in a verbal argument with the officer when suddenly and violently he slaps her in the face. Film director Billy Corbin first shared the video, which runs about 30 seconds.
Now, this happened at Miami International Airport. The woman was shouting
It gets blurry
at the police officer and got up close to him when he slapped her. It's not known if the woman was injured or what the argument was about, but the woman could be heard telling the officer that he was acting white when he's actually black. Those were her words. A source tells CBS 4 News the officer is a 20-year veteran of the force. Miami-Dade's police director says he is shocked and angered and has relieved the officer of duty.
Director Freddie Ramirez goes on to say, quote, actions such as these undermine the hard work that we have invested in our community and causes my heart to break for our community and for the vast majority of our officers who dedicate their lives to serving our county. This will not stand, and I assure our community that any officer acting in this vein will be held to account. He's also asked the state attorney to join the investigation.
Some comments that we have here. Let's see. Sean making a joke of it, saying that was akin to the Russian slap fight. Another Treason ODB says he put his whole shoulder into that hit. Brady Barons does say that, her forehead does look like it made contact with his head. So what do you think, guys? What do you think, Justin?
So the tricky part about this is obviously this is not how you want to see your police act, right? You do not want to see them respond to let's say it's aggression in this manner. I'm not sure how hard he actually tried to hit her because she took the hit. I mean, she didn't go down. She was still up, and maybe she just doesn't have the ability. But let's take for a moment and say he's not a police officer, and they're in the airport, and this lady is saying that stuff to this man. You know, is he within his rights to use physical force to defend himself? I don't know that getting into the space is enough, although she wasn't wearing a mask and wearing COVID times. So number one, there is a sort of safety issue there. Number two, one of the things that the courts have recognized as fighting words that are anticipated to be responded to in a way of physical violence is racism. And I specifically heard her say, you're acting like you're all white, but you're black. And if he's taking that as a threat, being called like an Uncle Tom or something, and he responded, he lost his cool and responded with physical violence. Historically, the courts have been sympathetic to that sort of situation. So taking out for the moment that it's a police officer, would he be okay and would he be prosecuted for a crime? And I think the answer is no.
But doesn't being a police officer change that?
I think it does. I mean, I don't think he's going to get charged with a crime. Right. So but as far as being relieved of duty for violating the oath of office, not using de-escalation tactics, all the different things, everything that we want our police to do first before they go to violence. I think, I agree, being relieved of duty, or if there was some process in the collective bargaining agreement that said he must be disciplined first and go through some sort of de-escalation training before he can't go back to the airport, or he's got a desk job or something like that. I think that's all appropriate. But, at the same time, we can't ignore the fact that a lady without a mask during a pandemic in an airport approached a person in his space, in his face, and was saying racist things. I mean, we have to be understanding of that.
Appropriate response. We always talk about that in terms of a threat. Brady was asking, is a slap equal or one level up retaliation to a forehead making contact? Seems like that's a couple levels up to me.
I mean,
But you said we can't just ignore the no mask, because we've sat sat here and railed on the fact that if someone gets in your face and they have no respect without the mask on, that's pretty serious. We want felony charges on that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, if somebody got in my space right now without a mask, with everything that I'm carrying around in regards to trying to keep everybody around me safe, they're at least getting a solid push. I mean, I'm getting them out of my space one way or the other. And if they come back in my space, it will get physical. Like I think that juries in that take the cop out of it. Juries in that specific situation, I think, are going to be sympathetic. And then like I said, you can't ignore the fact that she's baiting him. She's saying racist stuff to him. And the courts say in that situation, you should be aware that you're inciting physical violence.
Well, but here's to the point that he brought up, right? That was it Brady or whoever, like in terms of the rightful escalation. Isn't the rightful escalation point pushing her first instead of going straight to striking in the face?
It doesn't have to be perfect escalation, right? After the fact, you can always go back and say, here's what would have been perfect. It's not perfect. It's what a reasonable person would do under the circumstances in a split-second reaction to what's going on, right?
What do you think of this? The lack of mask point is valid, but police are supposed to be held to a higher standard.
Totally. That's why he lost a job, right? But that's also why he's not going to be criminally prosecuted. I'd be very, very surprised if he was criminally prosecuted.
Left Coast Mike says, push her, but not load up with a super right cross. Justin, I think, honestly, your move, though, based on your skill set from the past, you're not slapping someone if you feel threatened. You're going for a double leg.
Well, that's what I know, right? That's what I know.
Double leg and side control.
But I don't want to be in.
I was going to say, he doesn't want that.
My whole point is to create distance.
Right.
So.
Well, that's right, because of the freaking pandemic. So now wrestling's out. I thought
wrestling's out. That's my only skill set.
Cool.
Yeah, John.
So if it's a guy with a few inches of reach, then it's going to be.
I might be in trouble. Yeah, yeah. Gonna start carrying a baton with me.
All right. Well, let's talk about the ultimate example of protecting yourself if this is legal. All these complications: public street, private street. Do we have video? Was a neighborhood broken into? Was a gate breached? Of course, here is our favorite couple out of St. Louis, as many people are calling them. Sorry for the small picture, but Bonnie and Claude. This guy's actually an attorney who has now said his life has been ruined. Lot to go through here, Justin. So where do we start? Do they have the right to walk out on their lawn? Were they threatened? And is that a private street or a public street? Were those protesters threatening them?
I don't know if the protesters were threatening them. I mean, they say that there were two. They say they support Black Lives Matters and the protest, but that there are a couple different factors made them fear what was going to happen. Number one, the protesters entered into a private drive. It's not even a sidewalk, right? They broke down a gate that was gated around this neighborhood and were walking by in front of this house because they were going to the mayor's house, which is either on the other side of this gated neighborhood or in the gated neighborhood. I don't know the answer to that. And the couple says that two of the protesters were specifically threatening them. And so they feared for their safety. I think even if there was no threats, even if no words were exchanged, they were within their rights. I looked it up. We've talked about this before. Missouri is a castle doctrine state. And what does the castle doctrine say? Castle doctrine says that if somebody enters on your property, you have the right to defend your property with deadly force. And there's no doubt the protesters were on their property and they didn't have a right to. So anybody who's saying like they were impeding on the First Amendment rights of these people, or we need to protect the First Amendment rights and balance this, is not being intellectually honest about what happened here. They absolutely entered private property. On
the rules there as compared to here, tomorrow night, in the street, I'll have some neighbors shooting off fireworks. If I feel like there's a threat, can I walk out there and point a gun at them? Do I have to be on my property? Do they have to step on my property?
Right. So
By the way, I'm not going to. I'm just going to move my car and watch the fireworks. But,
Yeah.
I mean, you have people who are, everyone's amped up right now, and someone could walk out with an AR and be like, okay, well, I feel like you're shooting at me.
So here's the deal. Castle Doctrine is old established law, which basically, like I said, says you can use deadly force to defend yourself or your property when somebody enters onto your property. Nevada is a stand your ground state. And what stand your ground means is that I can defend myself with deadly force if I am on my property or I'm in any place that I'm legally entitled to be and I'm being threatened with physical force. And on top of the stand your ground, this is the big thing. This is what the real distinction between Castle Doctrine. In Castle Doctrine, if they leave your property, you cannot continue with the threat of physical force, right? Or lethal force. In stand your ground, you can. And so, well, I shouldn't say that carte blanche. Some states have different stand your grounds rules, but by and large, I'm sorry. And Castle Doctrine also can have outs where you must retreat. That's the big difference. That I must retreat to safety if I can. So I could go into my home and then I'm safe. Stand your ground, you do not have to retreat in any way. But to answer your hypothetical, if somebody's lighting off fireworks and they're not on your property, you don't have any rights to start pointing guns at people.
Wait, so to follow, if I'm following you, you said so the Castle Doctrine, which is over there, right? You have to. Part of it is you, as somebody who's defending your property, have to find a way to retreat. Is that what you said?
Yeah, most Castle Doctrines are that way. Yeah.
Well, they're not retreating though, right? Like they're meeting them. They're aggressing at that point, right? They came out. They're standing there, right? Like to me, when I'm listening to you, it sounds like they could have just, if they wanted to, just opened up. Like, all right, let's go, and just started going. The way I'm interpreting it. And like, if you're saying that they have to retreat at some point, like standing out front and pointing your gun at a bunch of people who a majority of weren't even trying to, yes, they're on your property, but not trying to threaten you, right? Like, isn't there something?
So the retreat is going to be if the retreat will stop the act that is imposing on your rights, right? So if they go into their house, people are still violating their property. They're still entering their property. That doesn't change anything, right? Okay. The difference would be, God, I'm trying to think of a good retreat case that came up where I can't think of an example, but usually it comes up with like I'm chasing somebody that's on my property. They leave my property, and then I'm therefore supposed to retreat and go back onto my property, right? But there's a better example of that. If I think of it, I'll bring it up.
All right, some comments on this one. Let's see. Karens with guns. We'll get to another Karen with a gun here in a second. That's from John Carvalli. Sean says anyone holding a pistol like that in my general direction is certainly a threat. A lot of people commented on the fact that she had her finger on the trigger.
Doesn't matter.
Here's my question, though, Justin. Actually,
to that one more comment here. Gil the Thrill. This is my whole point on the finger on the trigger. Is that a lot of people looked at it and they're like, "All right, you're a gun owner, and you're willing to use it to protect yourself, but you may want to get trained on how to use a gun and not walk out with your finger on the trigger."
You know what's funny is that was the whole reason the NRA was originally started was for training of, at the time, young men in school age on the proper use of firearms, right? It's like so bastardized now. But to really bring it home, let's say it gives a bad visual in that situation because their property is so big. But let's just say the Black Lives Matter starts walking down in your neighborhood and they start trampling on your front yard and not banging on your windows and walking around all right up in your front yard. And you're like, get off my front yard. Stop banging on my windows. And they were like, First Amendment. I can do what I want. Everybody would agree. Like, no, that's not right. I should be able to tell somebody to get off my property and they should have to go. Mm-hmm. And that's what this ultimately is about. You have the right to defend your property in every state.
Well, can I have one more on this real quick?
Yeah.
We got what you want.
So I'm curious because it's funny when they said the trigger control. I was thinking that too, and it wasn't even like like it was like kind of held out like this at some points, like it was just all over the place. So you said they were in a gated community. Is everybody who passes that threshold of that gate on their property, or is it specifically a lot within? Like what I'm curious about is if she had accidentally pulled the trigger, if she did shoot somebody that was a distance away but not exactly on her property, like where does that stand there? Because she was technically defending her property, but what if it struck somebody that was? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, these are super good questions. That these this is like law school questions. So number one, I can't tell from the photos whether or not they had their own gate and then each one had a gate, or if this was like maybe 4 or 8 or 10 houses within this little private street, and it was marked private walk. It wasn't even a street. But if you live within a common area, at least in the state of Nevada, I know this to be the law, your rights to defend your property extend to the common area. Common area is considered your property as well. So it wouldn't matter. Now, let's say that you misfire and you hit somebody else that was not a part of that you had no right to shoot. The question would become whether or not you committed negligence, number one, for a civil claim, and number two, whether you were criminally reckless in what you did. You can't just be like, hey, there's people standing on my lawn over here, I'm going to shoot this guy over here. Like, it doesn't give you a trump card to do whatever you want and shoot whoever you want. You still have to be responsible and act within the law.
All right. And Brady's put up a couple of points that, there is proof they contributed to Black Lives Matter. He's saying they are also representing someone who's a victim of police brutality. So we'll look more into their background. I don't know. Let me get to the other insane Karen story. So we got a situation in Detroit where there's some sort of altercation in a Chipotle, and it doesn't have anything to do with stuff falling out of the ceiling or something in the burritos. That's not nice. We could have this brought to you by Chipotle down the road. Maybe not. But they get into it inside. They walk out outside. There are words exchanged. African-American mom with 3 kids, white couple. White couple gets in their car. African-American mom is saying, hey, you're racist. Then I think, if I'm correct, the African-American mom is standing behind the car and won't let them leave. And then the next thing we see, this is where, man, we are starting to lose it. This is the picture of 2020 America. This photo on TMZ, this still shot, is just insane. This woman is holding a gun, and the other woman is in front of her. She's like, I'm videoing this. Like, she has a gun pointed at you from inside of 5 feet. This is craziness. Now, as it turns out, the couple, let me show you the picture. That's the picture, if you can see it. The woman's holding a gun right here, and someone is, standing right in front of her with a camera, with the phone. And the white woman actually has been charged with a felony. So what's the deal here, Justin?
I don't think that they're going to get convicted. I don't even think they're going to move forward with the jury. I just encourage everybody to watch the whole video. As I understand it from what they're talking about, when the white woman was walking into the Chipotle, she bumped into the 15-year-old girl. As I understand it, she also apologized for it. And the mom kind of thought it was aggressive, and they got into a verbal confrontation. We have the video of the verbal confrontation. I believe in watching that video that the African-American mom and the daughter were the aggressors. They were, not only did they accuse the woman of being racist and ignorant, but on 2 separate occasions, the mom threatened to fuck her up. So she threatened her twice, and then stands behind the van when they try to leave. And
she also strikes the van too.
Yeah, and hits the van.
Right.
And so I don't think they're going to move forward with this. I don't think that they're going to ultimately be charged. They've already been charged. I don't know that the district attorney there will move forward with this. I think it'll quietly go away.
Yeah. I say too, like, this is the danger, because the original video that came out was from the picture you have up there, Steve. It's from her camera, and it's immediately starting with the gun in her face. And immediately the conclusion is leapt to, what's going on here. And then you finally see the rest of the video as Justin described it. And like, yeah, I was excited when you had included this, because I thought too, watching it, I'm like, there's no way that this would probably stick. She would probably felt threatened as hell, especially when you're trying to leave. You're de-escalating. You're trying to go.
Yeah, I mean, and the threats were continuing as she tried to get into her car. And so, she chambered the bullet too.
Dude, yeah.
When she gets out, she chambers it and has it ready to go. And I mean, I'm gonna only for you guys will I say this, but the woman might be pregnant too. She held her belly in a way when she was getting threatened, and I think that would be relevant. I really do think that would matter to a jury. If she is pregnant, I'm totally guessing there. And if she's,
she could have just eaten a lot of Chipotle. She could just be really full on Chipotle.
That's true too. I would never say that to anybody's face, but if that is the case, then I think that would come in because you have to put yourself in her shoes. Does she think that she is being threatened with physical violence? And I think the answer is yeah. You said it with your words, and then you started banging on my car, and you tried to block me from leaving. And when the lady pulls out the gun, she says, "Call the police." She totally is taking the position of like, I'm defending myself here, and we need to get somebody in here to stop you from doing what you're doing. And I think she's going to be in the right.
Sean was joking about you must have tried that move too. What do you mean? Clarify that, because I was actually asking. You're screwed in both. And you shouldn't be doing this in either one. If you are threatened in your car, are you better off running them over, or are you better off getting out and shooting them?
You're asking me?
I'm just saying from a penalty and defending yourself standpoint. If you're that scared, I don't know. I don't want people to do either. It's
like the video with the guy with the kids in his car, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the police officer who shot the kid, he was in his car. He stayed in his car. There's I don't know that there's a great answer to that. If I believe somebody's armed and trying to block my car, I'm on the pedal, man. I don't care. Right. If I don't think they're armed, and it's just one of them, and they're slapping my windows and stuff, I'm going to proceed in my car at a slow rate that gives them the opportunity to move out of the way. Although I don't think that's what I have to do. I don't think that's a legal requirement, but that's just what I would do. I don't actually want to run somebody over.
Yeah. Like that video where the dude stands in front of the car and puts his hand in his coat to make it seem like he's going to pull out a gun. I'm sorry. Pedal to the metal. See you later, buddy.
Yep.
Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I probably wouldn't put on my clown hair. At that point, I don't think the clown hair on the nose is going to de-escalate if someone's really threatening someone, threatening me in the car. So, yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Denver. We kind of skipped back and forth with some police stuff, but this is actually some protesters filing a lawsuit against Denver police. John, you want me to play the video here? At least it gives a little bit of a snippet.
Oh, I didn't know there was video. Hey, yeah.
There's video. I'm not exactly sure. I should have pre-screened this. Bad producer job. But this is in Denver, and protesters feel like their rights were violated by Denver police during the protest. We'll see if we can get this to fire up. Give me some sound.
I got the details too. Okay, there.
The County of Denver for its police response during George Floyd protests. Well, that video was some of the video taken during the first weekend of protest, which started back on May 28th. The lawsuit claims wrongful curfew arrests and unconstitutional protesters. Denver police arrested more than 300 people for curfew violations, but the city attorney dropped to over 300 cases.
So, and I'll have to go back and look if anything happened with we saw a video early on in Denver that was really distressing where protesters were across the street and police officers were getting on some kind of vehicle, and it was a bunch of them getting on there. And you saw one of the police officers, bring his rubber bullet gun, point it. His fellow officers were like, "Take it easy, man. You don't have to shoot him." The guy trying to stop him turns away for a second. He's like, "Nope, fuck him," and he just shot someone with a camera, like from I don't know, 50, 60 feet away. And I just wonder if that's if that's part of the whole, if that's part of this. So I don't know. How do these cases work, Justin, where professors are demanding their rights and they feel like they've been violated?
Hell yeah, do it. I hope we do it in Nevada too, because this is how we're going to create good case law and the laws that will apply the next time this kind of stuff happens, right? For instance, we have a great example here. In Reno, the mayor tried to set a curfew, and the curfew was open-ended. Was going to be a number of different days from sundown to sunup, and specifically said in there, and it applied to the whole city. And the ACLU was like, hang on a minute. We know from other cases that you can't do this. That if you're going to put a curfew in, it must be geographically restricted to the areas in which there is an immediate threat. You don't even know about an immediate threat, and you've done it all over Reno. Like it's an improper curfew. And the only way we know that is because somebody sued the last time this happened, right? And this bullshit of like, I mean, I know the cops have a tough job. I'm not trying to say I could, do better, but just the videos that you see of the random, like, oh, fuck you, just spray people that aren't even doing shit and shooting them with bullets that aren't even doing shit just for the fucking fun of it. That shit needs to stop, and that there needs to be repercussions. And clearly the unions aren't holding their members responsible for their actions. So cool. Lawsuit, man. Violating civil rights. I love it. I hope they and I know that there were bad actors in the protests as well, but this ain't the bad actors.
Yeah, so from dusk till dawn is too vague, huh? Left goes Mike.
It may not be. It may not be if you're aware of an immediate threat that poses itself because of the cover of darkness in a specific area that you're seeking to protect. But literally, the mayor of Reno's curfew order said, we are unaware of any specific threats, but blah, 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 blah. So like whoever drafted it didn't do a very good job, because that's the standard. You must know of an immediate threat in order to institute a curfew.
If this is like, I would assume that if this is either successful, or are we going to start to see more of these pop up throughout the states and cities?
Yeah, I bet you're going to see it in every single state that there was a protest.
Right.
Yeah, eventually. But I'll give you credit to Reno.
Yeah, real quick. How damning are those videos where you just see an officer walk up to somebody, pull down their mask, and just start spraying them right in the face?
Dude, they're the worst, right? But like it's going to go in front of a jury. This isn't something that can be an inside baseball deal where like a judge who's always has these same cops testifying in front of him all the time is like, I looked at it. There's no case here. No, it's a violation of civil rights. It's in federal court, and it's going to be a jury. So it's the best playing field for the average person. And then you get to put those videos up in front of a jury and get the shock of the jury. And just going back to the Reno thing, I will give credit to Mayor Sheevy. Once the ACLU said, hey, your curfew order violates constitutional rights, she pulled it. She didn't actually move forward with it. So good, system worked. But it only worked because somebody sued before.
John, did I cut off your follow-up answer?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
All right, let's bring up another John story here. If anyone has questions about the protesters and their rights and violations, but this one's interesting. This is out of Virginia. It has to do with a wedding photographer, and is he pushing back on being forced to do something that he doesn't want to do? So what's the deal here, John?
So it is a photographer and blogger out of Virginia filing a lawsuit because they have a newly enacted state law that, in this piece, says forces photographers to promote same-sex weddings. According to the Alliance Defending Freedom attorneys who are representing this guy, the act that they're speaking of threatens fines of up to $50,000 and then $100,000 for additional violation of any discriminatory acts on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. What I'm confused about in this one, Justin, is so the blogger is alleging that he's being forced to promote same-sex marriages, that it goes against his beliefs. But from what I read from that act, you're just not allowed to discriminate. It doesn't say anything about being forced to promote on your brand website or anything of that nature.
Yeah, I think he's going to win because I think the law is too broad, and it says that you can't discriminate in any public accommodation or financial agreement. And so it's governing contracts between people, which means that, if a same-sex couple goes in and says, I want to hire you, and he says, no, I don't do that, that they would come in and say, nope, you have to do it. And I think that there is sufficient case authority on the Supreme Court level that says that if it's on the basis of religious, sincerely held religious beliefs, that you are not going to be forced to perform your job duties in a way that goes against your religious beliefs. And so I think he's gonna win.
What do you think about what he's saying here? He says it isn't the state's job to tell me what I must capture on film or publish on my website. My religious beliefs influence every aspect of my life, including the stories I tell through my photography. If you're looking for someone to photograph a red light district or promote drug tourism, I'm not your guy. Now Virginia is trying to intimidate creative professionals like me to change some of my other religious beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know my political affiliation. I'm all on the social side of the Democratic Party. As far as like social rights and LGBTQ, I'm all for it. But he's right. He's inconsistent. His stance is consistent with what the Supreme Court of the United States has held. I mean, we all are aware of the Hobby Lobby case, in which Hobby Lobby said, hey, we have religious held beliefs as a company that prevent us from, doing some of the things that are required by law in regards to LGBTQ. Now, Hobby Lobby is always blown out of proportion. And what the real fucked up part about Hobby Lobby is it said corporations can have religiously held beliefs. Just bullshit, but whatever. But he's an individual. He certainly can have religiously held beliefs. And we know that there are a ton of religions out there that genuinely believe that it is in violation of their beliefs in God's word to, promote or be a part of anything LGBTQ. It's not my thing, but it's what the Supreme Court has said.
And it seems like this is one of those things where he's trying to nip it in the bud, right? Because I can't find a case of him actually having an example of being forced to do this with a same-sex couple. Because my initial thought was like, well, why would same-sex couples go to you if you just make it clear that you wouldn't want to? But the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, well, if I'm in issues like to your explanation, you'd rather go and get this fixed now before it comes up in terms of like a lawsuit and a violation, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of tricky. Back in the day, if you tried to sue, but you had not been damaged, they would not say you had standing to sue, which is like you got to point to an example. But what ended up happening is people were staging examples, and so you are allowed to preemptively now, on the basis of violation of constitutional rights, go and seek an injunction of a law that goes into place on that basis. So he's got standing. It's appropriate. It's ripe and to be heard, and I think he's going to win.
Some of the comments, Brady was saying that Colorado bakery Supreme Court decision would seem to protect him.
100%. That's right. So that in that case, they declined to force a bakery to make a wedding cake for same-sex marriage. Yeah, same thing.
Left Coast Mike talks about the Colorado bakery. Let's see some other comments. Brady bringing up the transition cake. And then Sean mentions real issue is public relations, he'll likely win, but at what PR cost?
Right.
Not PR cost, right? Like, you got to remember there's a whole shitload of people out there who are going to now go to him because he's taken this stance, right? This isn't a 90-10 debate. It's a lot closer to like 60-40. And if you can open up a freaking market share on 40%, you're going to do pretty good. Yeah. I don't know what part of Colorado he's in, if he's in the Denver area, which would be probably more of like an 80-20 sort of situation, but still.
Oh no, this guy's in Virginia.
He's in Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, my older brother and his girlfriend do photography. This is their site, Black and White Raw Photography. They'll do same sex. So they got a couple of ladies running to the beach right here. So they'll take all the same sex action you can offer them. I don't mean like actual sex. I mean the photography part in weddings.
I think the name of their company is also like a porn site, isn't it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's catchy, right? Black and White Raw.
Black, white, and raw.
Oh, black, white, and raw. My bad. Black and white.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just have to comment on the comments over to the side.
Yeah,
Chris, I'll definitely be ordering more Naked City. You don't have to comp me. I like doing this. I know they're beating on me, but that's their job, and I love ordering your pizza. So no comp. I pay for it. It's good stuff.
They will also
from New York. So it's freaking hard to get her to agree to some pizza out here, and she loves your pizza.
They'll also handle anything in Philly with if you want to do like if you're like a clown photo person. Let me see if I can find it. There you go. I don't know what they got going on, but there's like a whole thing of like clown people, like in the Philly, Delaware, Virginia, it's Maryland area. So
yeah, man, mimes need photos too. They got to promote themselves.
Look them up. All right, let's down the stretch here. Let's get to a couple of final stories. Well, Vanilla Ice and the concert in Austin has been canceled. I thought this was interesting because they're
I didn't know they canceled it.
Yeah, they canceled it. I'm not into clowns. It's my brother Paul. Yeah, they canceled it today because then it got blown up yesterday. So he was going to play at a bar / concert venue. I kind of wonder how they were going to try to get around this. That place holds 2,500. I guess because they're somehow designated as a concert venue, they potentially were going to get around it and be able to hold this whole deal. And I guess Vanilla Ice says that he didn't realize the Austin situation or the Austin area had been hit so hard by COVID.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there might have only been 50 people in the place anyway, so it might still would have complied.
That was, by the way, my favorite thing I saw on social media. Like, is there a lamer way to die than contracting COVID-19 at a Vanilla Ice concert in 2020?
Yeah, that would be very 2020 to go there and be one of the 100 people in attendance and 85 of you get COVID. 84 tickets. Oh my gosh. I just said 85 on the top of my head.
Is that true?
I don't. I didn't get to check on that one.
It seems like it's such a specific number that I feel like it's true. 84.
What are we all doing on the 4th of July?
Nothing.
I'm just going to my mom's and sitting out in the front yard and watching fireworks. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, man. I'm you guys know I'm in Southern Highlands, and I'll just tell you, 4th of July, Mountain's Edge goes freaking crazy. Yeah. And I got I have a good spot to view all of that. So we just sit there and watch fireworks. They go nuts. And normally I go up to Bryan Head for 4th of July. It's a great place to be for the week, but not this year, next year.
Ari says he's working, so he can't watch any TV shows that we recommend. And well, he hates fireworks anyway, and he's a Mountain's Edge guy. So he laid out his whole case today about how much he hates fireworks. So,
man, it's a war zone over there, man. Mountain's Edge has got to be the craziest part of town for fireworks. They just go nuts.
I do think fireworks are a useless celebration, but whatever.
I dig them.
I love them.
Yeah,
I love them.
You don't.
What, me? No, I really do.
Nobody does.
I do.
I don't understand. Like, here's some loud noises and flashing lights.
Oh, dude, I'm the guy out front. I got 2 girls. They're 8 and 10, and I'm like, come on, you want to come light the firework? They're like, no, you just go ahead. It doesn't look safe. I'm like, it's fine. Get in here. Like this thing.
Oh my god! I mean, at the youngest age, who doesn't love the freaking sparklers? Just running around with them and. Great.
I like all fireworks.
When I was young, we would have sparkler duels, where you'd smack each other with them and have sword fights with them, or you would hide the poppers around the house in seats and whatnot so people could, get the shit scared out of them.
Bro, that's way too tame, dude. We had Roman candle fights. Those
are fun. Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, you get the bottle rockets, and the bottle rockets are great because they got that long stick, so you can still hold them and shoot them, or if you get like a paper towel tube, cap the end, you can hold it out, and so you can start shooting those at. Well, I shot those at my brother. I love that stuff, man.
Yeah. All right, maybe, you know what I'm seeing more. Maybe there's more anti-fireworkers out there. Ari says, "I love fireworks, just not every night, all the time in May and June." I mean, Ari's got a very delicate sleep schedule. He has a long, long, long day to get ready for Cofield and Company. So,
what does he sleep? 11, 12 hours, I bet.
I don't know. Ray 702 says, "I'm with you, JVT. Fireworks were over when I was 16." Rock and Roll Cabbie says fireworks suck. All right. Eli goes down the, I guess what, the Kung Flu path. He's going to try to insult the Chinese. Very nice. Fireworks are Chinese. We shouldn't be celebrating with Chinese items during this time.
Is that a serious comment?
Did fireworks cause Ari to put a hole in his door? I don't know, man. Some kind of DV incident. I don't know what got him all mad. I love fireworks. I love them going off for the last month. I don't care. Doesn't bother me.
I think next 4th of
I am a real American.
I think next 4th of July, if we got the vaccine and everything's all clear, what I want to do is like Lake Powell, Lake Havasu, something like that. Get a boat, freaking have a whole shitload of fireworks, and just because there's no rules. Dude, if you've ever been to Lake Powell, man, there's no rules on that place. You do whatever the freak you want, man. I love it.
David says we had Roman candle fights. All right.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God.
I've had them before too. Those were fun when I was like 10.
Oh, but JVT, you're too young. Like the good stuff's always been illegal here for you. When I was a kid, it was gangbusters, man. You were allowed to do whatever the fuck you wanted.
Yeah, we did make there was one. I think I still had my Jeep, so I was like in the range of like 18 to 20, and we drove up. Where do you get the illegal fireworks here? And it's like 2 hours.
Moapa.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sorry, I had a brain fart. Yeah, so we drove up to Moapa, got the illegal fireworks, came back. Like that was okay, but not worth my time.
All right.
Yeah, I would love to get out there and get some, but
sorry,
too late.
Last thing to. All right, enough. I'm the chat room's out of control. I appreciate it, guys. Last important thing to ask: hot dog contest on Saturday. Are we all hot dog people? We know Ari's not on the stream, but he's very anti-hot dog. He's anti any kind of cured meat. Pritch was pro hot dog. I was very happy to do a show at Pritch today. He's very pro hot dog. Adam Hill, believe it or not, even with the rotund physique, is a finicky eater when it comes to hot dogs. So he's anti-hot dog.
Do you consider bratwurst in the hot dog category?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay. I'm big on brats. Like you guys know that I'm a hunter. I've got a freezer full of elk brats that they mixed in with some cheese and jalapenos on a couple of them.
Ooh.
And once I go there, like a regular hot dog just doesn't do it for me anymore, man. I need it has to have at least some cheese involved in it. If I'm going regular hot dog, it's got to be a beef one, not the old originals.
All right. David says you got to love beer brats. By the way, this was a hot dog list, best hot dogs out there. I'm not a Hebrew National person with the kosher beef. I can do ballpark Angus. Let's see.
By the way, can I ask what is pro hot dog? Like, what does that mean?
Like you like hot dogs. You'll eat hot dogs on the reg, and like there are people who hate hot dogs. There are people who are very finicky eaters now who are like, hot dogs are gross.
I don't eat hot dogs, as you say, on the reg, but like and they will never be my first choice, but I will eat a hot dog. I don't think they're gross. I've just never ranked them high in terms of my barbecue/grilling foods.
Would you put them in a top 5 choice as a fast food item from, say, Wiener Schnitzel or Sonic?
No, I've never gotten a fast food hot dog.
No, that's disgusting.
That's top 5. What?
Yeah, like the closest to a fast food hot dog I've ever gotten was a 7-Eleven hot dog.
I am. So, yeah. Hey, you know what? Those are
fat, dude. I feel like those are
some hot dogs. Yeah.
Oh man, dude! So when I started my legal career, I had to wear a suit every day. I had no money, so I spent whatever little first check I got on getting some suits. I had nothing for money, and I worked right down the street from where you're at, Cofield. I worked on Charleston and Tenaya, roughly, and there's an AM/PM right there on Rainbow and Charleston. And I used to go there every day for lunch because they had 2 hot dogs, a bag of chips, and a soda for $1.99.
That's a good deal.
That's my friggin' dream.
Yeah, it's a good deal, actually.
I love that.
Well, this is 15 years ago. It's probably like $2.99 now.
Like
Steve, screw it, man. I'm driving. I just freaking completely blanked on the place. What's the Philly cheesesteak place? It's on Charleston and Alta. Yep, I'm going to Pops. Let me see if I can get some hot dogs down there. Going tonight.
Yeah. JVT, if I can give you a recommendation while you're see, I always have a hot dog that I throw on, and I'm eating as I'm grilling all the other meats that take a while.
Yeah.
Johnsonville jalapeno cheddar. Yep, I'm on that. That's good.
Okay, I'm going grocery shopping tomorrow for some stuff, so I'll grab a couple. I'm a big hot link. Like hot links are pretty good. Those are bomb. I like those. I will say, I think personally, like I rank corn dogs, like a well-made corn dog, over hot dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm a bready person, but I don't love corn dogs over. I also think they've become. I think they've become sort of fancy. Some people are getting out of control with the corn dog cost. Like, cut it out with like an $8 corn dog. Give me a break.
But I also push back on the. I don't know. Maybe there's a scientific argument to this. I feel like there's more bread in with a hot dog than there would be a corn dog.
Yeah, but you're right. Okay. I'm more traditional bun guy, and I really like hot dog buns. You know what's funny? I actually like the stuff that goes on hot dogs as much as the dog itself.
Yeah.
What do you put on?
I can eat bowls of sauerkraut. Yep.
Fuck that.
I don't have German in me, but my parents liked eating German food, so I like German food. There's not enough out here.
Ooh, dude.
Mustard, relish, jalapenos, onions. That's it.
I can do that. Money Tank, you got to explain this one. I made 2,500 hot dogs this week. 4,000 kielbasa.
With Gouda.
With Gouda.
And then he ends it with, don't eat hot dogs. What does he know? He needs to tell us what he knows.
By the way, Chris, Disneyland corn dogs every Thursday. I'm in. You do that down
Have you had the corn dog that's at T-Mobile? The thing that's like the extra long. It's like a 2-footer.
No.
I think it's called a Vegas dog. It's on a stick, and it's got like neon colored relish, mustard, and ketchup. Real bright colored, so it looks like it's a neon dog. Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go down to Naked City then because Chris, I don't know if you're with us. Justin, I don't know if you were either, but we're together. My wife just recently tried corn dogs for the first time like a month ago. She never had one. Yeah, she'd never had one. But she likes them, but she's talking about like, the frozen, we make them in the oven corn dogs. I'm like, wait till we go get like a real corn dog. You know what I mean? So like going down to get one, yes, that'd be ridiculous. We tried to go to Hot Dog on a Stick, the standalone one on Charleston Decatur, but I didn't realize they closed it.
Do you a nacho cheese dipper of the corn dog, or you do regular condiments?
Regular condiments, mustard, ketchup, and then if you like, I get the cheese dog from Hot Dog on a Stick, so that'll just be ketchup or by itself.
Yeah,
I want to go back for a second. I'm not anti corn dog. I'm just saying I prefer.
I'm gonna correct my stance here.
Now, Ari's saying like big corn dog because we always joke about big big mayo. We talked about last week. I'm just saying I prefer a regular hot dog in a bun. I'll also, as Sean was paying attention today, I will just throw like 3 hot dogs, cut them up like an animal, and just throw sauerkraut all over them, and just have that. Sean heard me, today say that the other day. Here it is. I just took some turkey dogs and went naked. Well, I wasn't naked, but naked in the bowl with kraut.
Yeah, I do that with mac and cheese. If I'm forced to eat mac and cheese, if I make that for the kids, I'll cook up a brat, chop it up, throw it in the mac and cheese.
Forced to eat mac and cheese? What are you talking about? No one's ever forced to eat mac and cheese.
I'm not making 2 dinners, dude. And mac and cheese is not really my thing, but it's enough of my thing that I'm not going to make a second dinner for myself.
Wait, who brought up ketchup? Did I miss it? I'm sorry.
I did. On the corn dog. I put ketchup on the corn dog.
Oh, Lordy.
Well, I think corn dogs are different than the hot dog, though, right?
No.
Yeah, they are. They're different.
Yeah. Like I put like mustard and, like a Chicago dog is very good.
Bro, do you put ketchup on your breakfast, like hash browns and freaking eggs?
I mean, like I'll put it on the side and dip it every once in a while, but I don't like put it all over. I'm more of a hot sauce on my eggs.
Yeah,
person.
There you go. That boy.
Sean with some nice words for Justin. Appreciate Justin being on. Hopefully, never need your service, but I will be you'll be the first one I contact if I need one. Yeah, I hope it goes without saying that. And I probably should be doing a commercial, Justin. So you tell me when you want me to do it. If you need me to say, hey, this is the guy to go to because we trust him. We trust you on this show. You know that. And we recommend you to everyone. So we probably should do that. It'd be a good commercial. Yeah. I hope everyone gets that from having you on the spots and doing this stuff. So
I don't know. That one time, it wasn't going to help me sue my apartment complex when they charged me $20 for not picking up dog poop that wasn't mine.
Yeah, well, I did do an accident. The one I always point to is doing an accident response to Adam Hill's freaking hit and run. And I'm driving around the neighborhoods in SoHi trying to match up a scrape on his car with any car I could see in the driveway.
Right.
We didn't get him, though.
Yep. And Adam just gives up. He is the meek inheritor. And whatever happens to him, he's like, okay, what could you do?
My favorite comment was ketchup is for children. That is great,
dude. I will say one of the things I do miss. I don't know how many people remember this, but it was when I was like 8 or 9. Does anybody in the chat remember when they were coming out with the different colors of Heinz ketchup? It was back in like the late 90s, and there was like green ketchup and orange ketchup. I demanded green ketchup for the longest time because I just wanted it, and it was great. Yeah, purple ketchup too.
All right.
Well, I want to go back to you were talking about Big Mayo on the show. Are you pro or anti mayo?
I'm okay with mayo in food because it's a binder. Some food needs it, but in terms of putting mayo really on any sandwiches, I'm very anti mayo. And we mentioned Big Mayo because it appears that the Mayo lobby, and we know it's worth millions. They actually sponsored a bowl game. If we have bowl games in, I think it's Charlotte. It used to be the Belk Bowl. It's now called the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Ugh, dude. I've eaten mayo a lot in my life. I'm a sub guy, and you do the mayo mustard mix, and I'm all for it. But the more I find out about mayo, the more disgusted I am when I even see it now. And so now I just don't want anything that's got mayo in it anymore. I don't want any of the pasta salads that is just a shitload of mayo all mixed. That's nasty, man. I don't want any of that shit anymore. Coleslaw, none of that.
It's funny when Isabel used to hate mayo, detest it, and then she got pregnant, and now that's all. She puts it on everything, sandwich wise, she puts it on everything.
Oh, dude. Pro tip on this one, man. When I was cutting weight for wrestling, this is ages ago, 20 years. I was very regimented about my diet, and one of the things that I could have often was tuna. I'd have just tuna in a bowl.
Yeah.
The canned tuna. And you can't mix it with mayo. Mayo is terrible for you. But you can, when you're cutting weight, you can have as much mustard as you want. Mustard mixed in tuna is 10 times better than mayo mixed in tuna, especially if you do a spicy mustard in it. If you do a spicy tuna sandwich, spicy mustard tuna sandwich, fantastic. It'll change your way of eating tuna.
I'm going to have it tomorrow.
There it is. Try it, dude. It's good.
No, I'm not questioning that. I'm not questioning that. There's jokes. We want to get Justin out of here. You guys are just being ridiculous.
I don't care, dude.
I'm sorry.
I was getting ready for work tomorrow. I was a little tired, and then I'm like, oh shit, our office is closed tomorrow. I think everything's closed tomorrow. So
there's just random Jerry Nadler jokes that he's in deep with, and there's no reason to go after big fella Jerry. You might be right, Brady, but the picture will load up. I tried to set it up. He's actually lost weight. He's gotten older now, so he's lost weight. But he was a big fella.
Yeah, he's lost a ton of weight. He's like half the size of that.
Yeah. Eli, who is a restaurant expert, says wasabi with tuna.
I was never a big wasabi fan.
No, he's saying that spicy mustard with tuna is like the taste that you're going to get with wasabi and tuna sushi. I think is what he's saying.
I still hate wasabi.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome job, everybody, especially in the chat. And first and foremost, Justin, for joining us on a Thursday. We're back next Wednesday on Cofield Company. Next Thursday.
By the way, I do like strawberry milk. So
you got a strawberry milk comment in there?
Yeah. Yeah, like strawberry milk's great. What are we talking about?
Oh my god, that's disgusting. Hey, the chat has been awesome tonight, man. That's good stuff. Good and freaking good questions on there too. I can't even keep up with all of them. And you guys come with, well, there's several lawyers in there too, but come with such great questions that, frankly, I'm not prepared to be able to answer some of them.
Give me some names that tomorrow night we're pretty open for guests. Remind me some of the people that you'd like to have on. We won't have, and this is not like they're banned from the show, so you don't need to ask about Steph, Seat, JT the Brick. But anyone else you want to throw out there?
You talking to the commenters or are you talking to me?
Or you?
We got to do one of these weeks, maybe next week or something, when we got a lot of criminal questions. We got to bring Ozzy Fumo on, who I talked about before, because he'll be a freaking pro at this stuff. And I could listen to him just talk about criminal stories for an hour. Dude, he's got the best because he's been doing it for 30 years here.
I will try for Vanilla Ice tomorrow. We'll see if it works.
Unsolved Mysteries. Let's go.
We keep having requests. We'll see if Adam calls in. We keep having requests for Jared. Jared can't be on. So it's not my decision. Yeah. So that's just the way it is. It's a weird one. We'll tell the story down the road. Oh, and by the way, you know what I should mention real quick. My stage door story about bar fight. Last time, it wasn't the last time I was at Stage Door, but I was hanging out with your buddy, JVT, Matt Humans, one of your co-hosts, and Matt tends to be a trash talker when he's at bars and will stir the pot. Mm-hmm. And I got in the middle of stirring the pot because I will stir the pot. And there was some goof who was kind of trashy. He got really annoyed. He took 2 steps back and threw a bottle of beer at my head. And it kind of went right over the top of my head and broke on the pillar behind me, and the people at the stage door were like, "Can you all leave, please?" I'm like,
and by the way, what city are you from?
After that one, I was like, okay, let's watch what we say at bars. Be careful. And yes, I've had a hot dog. I've had pretty much every food special at that place. So I love the stage door.
Man, there's some good names that everybody's throwing out in the chats, man.
Bar fight. No, I didn't retaliate because I had a bottle of beer thrown at my head. And at that point, I just want to live. We all did get kicked out and we kind of just went our separate ways. So I'm not sure that Pritch wants to stay up that late. Grimala is probably a guy we'll have on down the road with Adam or JVT. Let's see.
Google Tikka Masala.
Okay, you're not gonna go with Ari's suggestion. You're gonna get Lisa Anna.
Eventually.
There you go.
Let's see. Don't bring McKinnell on. We'll bring McKinnell on anytime we fucking want, man. I like that guy. He did a good job the other day on this.
Dude, he always asks good questions too. Yeah, he's good.
There you go, Jim. I know, Jim. If I could ever get Bo Derek, he ain't coming on the chat, brother. That's not that connection. Actually,
Derek's a little young for you.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Look at Justin jumping out on the Gilf jokes. Very nice. Very nice.
More Betty White. Is Betty White still alive? She's still alive.
She's still alive. Yeah, yes. She's like 99. Where's Humans? Is he actually in town?
No, he is not.
Is this real? He's not in Texas, is he?
I think he's a little bit more southern than Texas, but
all right. Wow, that's brave going into the belly of the beast right now.
That's not confirmed. I don't know.
Okay,
that's a guess. Maybe on the shores of the Rio Grande.
Ari does say he's working on Bo Derek for Cofield and Company, not late night. Okay. Jill Clayburgh reference from Silver Streak. Okay.
Don't even know it.
Yeah. Money Tank keeps saying that Humans is in Texas. So
okay, then he's in Texas. I mean, I haven't talked to him, so I would not know.
Is Daisy Duke still alive? You still think she's cute?
Ooh. Ooh, you know what? I think she may. We shouldn't do dead or alive. This is very tasteless, but I think she actually had. I'm thinking she. No, she's still alive. Okay, good. She.
Why is that tasteless? I don't know. You know,
Oh,
I just.
passed away. Yeah, keep the diversity coming. Yeah, it's very diverse. We're working on it. Catherine Bach is 50. Oh no, she's 66. All right, guys, I got to go and look up some pictures. I will.
By the way, my official request is Caleb. So,
yeah, you know what? On a Friday night, that could be a good one. Yeah, Caleb needs to be on her. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. John, Justin, excellent job. We'll see you tomorrow night. Back to Cofield and Company late night happy hour.